Okay. All right. So I'll start again. I just wanted to say that everybody knows Millie's not coming, so we don't have to, wait for her. But I think we should go ahead and get started on the April 13th review of the draft regs that I sent Sunday. This meeting is being recorded, and on the line is Beverly Roby, Deb Listernick, Chris Borges, Greg McBride, Kurt Franklin, and anyone else that I missed, Chris?
Nope, that's everybody right now.
Gail's here.
Oh, Gail,
I'm
sorry.
and Gail, I'm sorry. Okay. So, Gail, Greg, Deb,
Mark Richards is in the house.
Mark,
Just joined. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Mark.
Kurt, and Dave. Is that David?
That was Mark.
And Kurt. Gail, Greg, Deb, Mark, Kurt. Okay. And Chris. Okay, so what I did was highlight all the things that are still up in the air. The red line strikeout, I'm starting on page 1. First of all, I deleted alternative learning format, or ALF, as you requested throughout the document. The red line strikeout is not mine. Those are corrections from, those are changes that Kathy Campbell and some others made some time ago, but I wanted to go through them, starting with a webinar is defined as.
Actually, Beverly, could we go to the paragraph before? I just had a couple of comments.
Oh, of course. Yep. Go ahead, Deb.
So, we're in the weeds now, but is internet capitalized or not? And whatever it is, I think both are correct, just to be consistent.
Okay.
I don't think it should be. So
who said that?
Think it should be?
That was Gail. I don't think the internet should be capitalized.
Okay, and Deb, what are you saying?
Well, I think either is I looked it up. I mean, it can be either, but it just needs to be consistent because it's capitalized when it says courses conducted through the internet, and then we go down to the next two sections and it's not. So I think probably it's better not to capitalize it, but.
Okay, so excuse me. Pardon me. I'll make that change throughout if everybody's agreed. Internet should not be capitalized. Okay.
And in that same sentence, there's a couple of extra spaces, and then that it says, delivered in as an electronic recording. It should be either delivered in an electronic recording or delivered as an electronic recording, not both.
Okay, that's a typo and spacing. I'm not so worried about spacing right this minute, but I will fix it. There are formatting issues throughout the document, but hold on, Deb, I'm taking some notes. In section 1, and the spacing, and it's awkward. You want me to reword it?
Okay. Which it shouldn't be in and as both, one or the other. I don't know if it makes a difference.
Okay, I'll fix that.
Thanks.
I'll fix that. Thank you. Others in the first section. Okay. All right. So, what did you think of? What did you guys think of a webinar is defined as, and then the red line strikeout?
Beverly, this is Greg. I think the webinar should stand on its own with a capital and underline, so it's another defined term,
Okay.
rather than being part of the ALF.
Okay, so you want webinar is defined as, and you want to capitalize.
Yeah, just webinar is, is defined as a live event, online event. Just
Yep,
just
got it.
webinar, capital W, underline.
Okay.
Sorry, this is Debbie again. I mean, we kind of go back and forth as means and is defined as.
Yeah.
I think generally we're saying means.
Okay, webinar means. Okay. I'll make that change because again, we're striving for consistency. So I got it. And as to all the language that was stricken there, I just thought it included too much. It was too specific. Webinar software and broadcast to a select group of individuals, and all. I didn't think that language was necessary. Please tell me what you guys think.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So pardon me. Other than what Greg mentioned, webinar and Greg and Deb, pardon me, webinar means I can put those corrections in and set that paragraph, right?
Yeah, I think either defined as or means, either one works, but we should make it consistent.
Okay.
The rest of the section has means. That's why I was saying means.
Okay. Means it is. That's what I wrote. All right. There we go. Moving down to the next paragraph, and online. Should online be capitalized? And should online be on demand?
I don't think online needs to be capitalized anymore. Unless you feel
Okay.
the need to define it. I mean, which is weird.
Okay, well, according to what we're saying, it should read online means, not is defined as. Is that right? That's the first correction. Okay, so online, and what do you think about online or on demand? I only ask that question because on demand is what's in the attendance certification forms.
I think
I
it
don't
needs to be
need
on demand
I
because
like on demand.
a webinar is online.
right.
I mean,
Okay.
so I think it does need to be on demand.
Okay. So on demand means, pardon me, and then, and then the rest of the definition. Is that right? Okay. On demand.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. I've got that. Just hold on. And I'll, and it's otherwise okay to accept. All right. I've got that. Moving down to the next paragraph, board approved course. That's awkward. Board approved course means a course that is submitted by a course provider and approved by the board members. And then I ask a question there.
Do you need the word members there, Beverly? But it's because it's approved by not individuals, but by the board.
Board. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
had the
I'm
same
sorry.
reaction.
Okay, go ahead. Give it to me again, Greg and Gail.
Well, the
Board
last
approved course,
in that sentence,
what?
it says approved by the LSP board members. I'm suggesting that the board approves, not the individual members. So take members out.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. And is there any further definition of the process? And that should be fleshed out, not leshed out. I apologize for the typo. It should be fleshed out.
Excuse me. Go ahead, Gail.
Beverly, if you, in response to your question, my thought is that you might want to just put some approved by the LSP board members in the same, you might have to say in the same manner as a normal course or something like that. I mean, something along those lines. If people think it's necessary, I'm okay with it without it, but you raise a good question, whether it should be identified differently.
Yeah,
or
and we
basically
can
saying
all,
it's the same.
yeah, and we can always refer back directly to the section of the regs. So I could say C309 point whatever. Also, I mean,
Why don't you do that? That would solve it. In accordance with, yeah, approved by LSP board members in accordance with whatever.
in accordance with, and I'll
language would be.
I'll cite the section, the site, the section of the regs. Okay, got that.
Excuse me, Beverly, this is Debbie. So isn't there provision that course approvals can be submitted by LSPs also, not just the course provider?
That is true, and we do that. So where should that go, Deb?
Well, is that in that same citation, or do you need an additional citation? I just add the whatever citations apply.
Well, I think it just can be submitted by a course provider or LSP.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So all you, yep, I knew what you meant,
Yep,
Gail.
I see it.
So Deb, by a course provider or an LSP. Okay. Okay. So, or an LSP. All right, I got that. Course provider or LSP. Yeah, because that is an important, I mean, that's clearly stated in the regs that LSPs can submit. Okay. All right, so I've got that. And again, you'll get a chance to look at this next month when I clean it up. I'm just trying to, get as much change pushed through as I can for the next version. Okay, so moving to the next paragraph, board approved conference means, and I asked a question there, and I wondered what you guys have to say in response.
Can you say the same thing that is said elsewhere with respect to relevant to waste site cleanup work? Just cite the, the place in the regs.
So the answer is in accordance with blah blah blah.
Also make it similar.
Okay, I'll make it similar. In accordance with, and I'll cross-reference the reg, the applicable reg. Okay. Same thing with the next section. It should, in accordance with the citation of the reg. Is that right?
Yeah, I think. Education, what approved? Should this be further defined? Wherever it's necessary to cite where we have it previously, I think that's all we need to do.
Okay.
Unless there's something special. No, I think
Okay.
leaving the, I think you do need to leave the OSHA required health and safety shall not be considered.
Where is that?
Because
Where are you?
one might still argue that that's relevant.
I think that's too
Okay, where?
specific, and that is just an example. I think that's too specific for the definitions.
Well, the problem is it's always been there as for a specific reason because it isn't considered, even though it is relevant. That's that's why it needs to be cited, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it has always been there. So we are now looking at continuing education means board approved or otherwise eligible.
Courses of learning that are designed to further the professional competence of life. All of the standard language should stay.
Okay.
And I don't know that you need to cite anything, right? It doesn't
Okay.
look like it does. That was the
No,
point of
I
that
don't think so. But otherwise eligible was what I wondered. I mean, first of all, eligible shouldn't be capitalized. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know why OSHA's there. It seems we're only going to approve what we approve. So I don't know why this one specific example is called out. It seems a little bit odd.
The reason is, I do know. The reason is because it isn't considered, but it's relevant. So if you leave it with just relevant, it would be allowed.
I still don't get it because the board has to approve the course.
Well, that makes sense, but
Well,
in fact,
actually,
I don't know.
we reject OSHA courses out of hand.
Right, but you might as well tell people why,
No,
because otherwise you'd be getting
no,
all kinds of requests.
Why we reject a lot of courses. We don't call all those other courses out here. So
But everybody
I know,
takes this one. This
but
has
OSHA,
been.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gail. I'm sorry. Gail?
No. The reason is because everyone takes OSHA courses, but they are not acceptable. And if you didn't put that in there and put it in the regulations, you'd get arguments and, requests for reconsideration, all kinds of things. But once you say it in the regs, then
petitions for waiver. Yeah.
right. There's a reason why it was put there in the beginning.
It really, my understanding is that it was put there as a deterrent or to put people on notice before they even attempt to seek credit for the OSHA course, that category of courses is precluded from approval.
Yes. That was the understanding. The people that wrote the regs had something in mind when they wrote it. That was it, as far as I understand it.
Okay, so do the board members want to change that? Or, I mean, because if you delete it, Gail is right. You're absolutely going to get people trying to get credit for OSHA courses. And it's different than trying to get approval for a hydrogeology course that took place in New Jersey or somewhere where the geography is very different. Other comments about the OSHA issue? Okay, so where do you stand on changing the language? Those in favor of deleting OSHA?
I'm fine with it. It just seemed odd to call it out. I accept the dialogue as a good reason to leave it there. That's fine.
No, I agree.
Okay. All right. So that is okay, and eligible should be lowercase.
Yes.
Okay. So we are moving to page 2. There in there is it in red. Course provider means in the individual.
Good.
So that doesn't cover the LSP request for approval. Is there anyone who feels that we need to change that definition so that?
I think individual LSPs are covered by any individual.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So this one is okay. All right. So let's see where we are on time, and we've got 7 minutes. So this is good. I'm moving to the next section. DEP course means a board of blah, blah, blah. So I have a question. It says query. The regulations do not permit delegation by DEP personnel. So what I'm looking to strike there or ask questions about whether or not to strike is or their designee, because the regulations say simply that the course must be taught in whole or substantial part by DEP personnel. It does not say anything about DEP personnel designating Beverly Roby to teach a course and allow it to be taken for DEP credit, regulatory credit.
If that's what the regs say, then obviously it shouldn't be in there. But obviously, if somebody put it in there because of the difficulty that the department has had finding trainers.
Yeah,
And you
I
can
agree.
hear the. I just think that the reason it's put there in whole substantial part, and I think the reason was because you need the word of the department to count as a DEP course, because somebody else could still say something that might not be what the department approves. On the other hand, there are courses that we have been designated as DEP courses where there have been people that have worked with the department, and therefore the department has a department approval for what they're going to say because they've worked with them. So I think, but that's where you get whole or substantial part.
Right. Also, too,
I know a solution. It might be a solution. I'm not sure it is, but it could be taught or developed in whole or in part.
this is Debbie. I think we should leave it as is. And as Mark was saying, we always have the discretion to approve courses that don't fit the definition. So if we leave it like this,
Yep.
it addresses the majority of cases.
I agree. I'm good.
And I do recall we had a debate, it was probably one of the more significant ones on approval of a DEP course and because of who was teaching it on this exact definition. So I don't know if we.
Okay. So I think that you should, that this language should not be added or their designee. This was something that someone requested be added, but I think that changes the fundamental definition of a DEP employee, because that means technically, if you want to look at it in a verbatim sense, Paul Locke could say Beverly Roby is qualified to teach this DEP course on X, Y, and Z, and I'm not an employee of DEP. So that would take the discretion away from the board and put it in the hands of the course provider.
Well, and I'm perfectly happy leaving it the way it is, but as I said, a middle ground would be if we wanted to, would be to say is taught or developed. Because that way the DEP, remember the discussion that we're talking about had multiple speakers, and it had more non-DEP speakers than DEP speakers, but in fact, they'd work with the department to develop the course.
I think that's too complicated.
I'm good with, believe me, I'm good with keeping it.
Hello.
I agree, Deb. I think it's too fine a point to put your finger on, because designee could mean anybody or anyone. And all I'm saying is that with that, if you put in designee, that means that DEP gets to decide who, whether or not someone qualifies as a DEP personnel. I mean,
I think it leaves it's more straightforward the way it was.
Yep, I agree.
The only thing that bothers me is in substantial part, because we have approved courses that were not substantially taught by the department personnel.
I don't think they were. I think we checked. I think every DEP course, not regulatory, but DEP course, we have been careful about.
Well, I've attended at least one where the DEP individual was, was there, but not a substantial part of the training. So
hold on one second.
Before, I don't. Sorry.
Hold on. No, I just wanted to say, Greg, if that is happening, this is why it is really great that you guys attend these courses, because that should not be. They are, DEP represents to us that this is why you're playing with dynamite if you change this language, because if that is happening, that's not the way the course was presented to us and approved by the board members. It was presented as a course that was taught in substantial part. And substantial means what? 3/4, 2/3, whatever. Substantial part, more than 50%. Substantial part. And I think if you put these subtle gradations in the language, you're kind of opening yourself up for making first allowing DEP to decide who to designate, and secondly, making the determination after they've designated this person as to whether or not they're really qualified as DEP personnel. It just, as Deb says, it really complicates things.
Yeah. And as long as we're going to have a category of DEP course, then I think we need to keep it as substantial part. It just makes sense.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that's not
what the reality
is. Some of the courses have not been that way.
Okay.
I'll even
get
point
that.
to the
All
one
right.
that's been put up for this meeting today. If you look at the individuals that are there, it's a DEP requested course, but it's not substantially taught by the department personnel.
That course might get denied then, because I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that substantial part is a board member determination. So if the two things. So if a course is presented to the board and it's not taught in substantial part, you still have the control board members to make the decision as to what constitutes substantial. And the second thing is, Greg, if you are attending DEP courses, and I hate for you to be the snitch on this, but if you are attending courses that are not in substantial part taught by DEP personnel. That's a problem we have to address.
Well, I don't think I'm letting any cat out of the bag here. I'm just,
Yep.
we can have this conversation when we actually look at the one for today. Because I think that,
Okay.
I don't disagree about the language. I just not exactly sure what substantial means in this context.
It varies. It's a fluid concept, and we'll have a good opportunity to pick it apart today at the continuing ed meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Of course. Okay, so I'm going to leave this language as it is, not adding or their designee. So this is okay, and I think we've concluded today's meeting. It's 12:33. We have to stop here. Can I just ask you to look so we can at least get through page 2 about the highlighted portion at the bottom of page 2?
Wait.
Regulatory means I don't actually, maybe we better save that because it's part of a big discussion about, I think we're going to have a big discussion about regulatory. So I guess if you don't mind, we can adjourn here and pick up on page 2, at the bottom of page 2, next session.
Okay.
Is that okay?
If I lose you, I have to move my computer because it's getting unstable. So I'm gonna, if I disappear, I'll be back.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much. I'll add these corrections and start on page 2 at the May 11th meeting. Thank you very much. So we have adjourned. It's 12:34, and I am all set, David, for you to one second, go forward with your continuing ed meeting.
Yes, I'm calling to order continuing ed committee meeting 12:35, April 13th. Who's on the line from the board?
McBride is here.
Kathy Campbell's here.
Nick Listernick?
Mark
Kirk
Richards?
Franklin. Kirk Franklin.
Yep,
Mark Richards?
okay.
Gail is here, but she can't unmute. Oh, I just did.
I can hear you.
And Beverly. I don't know if Millie has made it on yet.
And Chris, are there folks from the public?
Yes, there are 7 people right now from the public on.
Okay.
Let's see. Do you need names or?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
James DeCoulis, Jim Stolecki, Kristen Lefebvre, Lori McCarthy, Michelle Paul, Michelle Zelch, and Wendy Rundle.
I
Thank you, Chris. The second item is status of virtual draft meetings.
I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the minutes during the public records portion of the board meeting because I have a full report on that, and all of these virtual minutes fall in that category. So for all the, excuse me, continuing ed, professional conduct, and board meeting minutes, that'll be discussed under the public records section of the agenda at the board meeting.
Great. And Beverly, this is Millie Garcia Serrano entering the room.
Hi, Millie.
Hi.
So we have a bunch of course approval requests and some reapproval requests and course announcements. So the first one is
David, I'm sorry, David, I forgot that I have an announcement. Can I just make one quick announcement before we begin? I want to ask again for continuing ed providers to make sure that they label their attachments. It makes it so much easier if the course name and the course provider is on the attachment in the email that you send to me for request for approval. Thank you.
okay.
That was it.
The first one is a course offered at UMass Amherst. They're looking for 3 technical credits to be approved. The only thing I noted is that there was no minimum grade that they were going to, that we had to have as part of their assessment.
David, I didn't actually see, this is Greg, I didn't see the course syllabus. Did I miss that? Did you see that?
It's,
Oh, I see it down below. Sorry.
Yeah, it was attached. It was attached.
Got it.
Yeah.
I have it now. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so what are you saying, David? There was no minimum grade? Was that your comment?
well, if we approve this, we can tell them what the minimum grade needs to be for someone who attends this course.
Mm-hmm.
And what would that be? 2.0, 3.0, 70, 80?
It's, they usually do it by letter grades if it's a college course still, I think. I would say if you've got a C, it's still acceptable. But do we have to does the college course, when it's a college course, does it say you have to have a minimum grade of something to approve it, to get approved?
Not that I know of, and that's part of my question.
If it doesn't for college courses, then I don't know why we'd ask for this one and not others. Have we ever asked for one for a college course before?
don't-
You have to actually look. It might say you have to pass the course.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve it for how it's been requested.
Second.
Okay, can I just ask before you do the roll call, David, are you saying, board members, that you want that anyone taking this course has to achieve a passing grade?
Yes.
Okay, and what's the passing grade? Is because the D is passing, right?
Right. It's set by the it's set by the provider. I mean, it's a college course. It will be D.
Yeah.
That's a passing grade.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Since it's a graduate course, my guess is that it's going to be a B, but that's up to them.
Yeah, if it's a graduate course, it might have to be B or above.
But that's up to them to say, not us.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Any further discussion with the board or any comments from the public? Okay, I'll go through the roll call. A yes is approving it. Greg?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
And me is a yes. The second course is one of many webinars in Viral Class, 10 courses, 2 hours each. They've all passed. They've all been completed already. They were live webinars. They said they had polling questions and they monitored the attendance.
But did the request come in? after the fact because we don't approve those courses. We can approve an online version, a demand version, but we can't approve the past one.
There's, looks like January, February, and March. They submitted they submitted 7 of them. That's more.
That's what I'm
Time.
saying. Did they send them in? The question is, did they send the request in time and we just didn't get to it? That's the
No,
deciding factor.
no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. They sent us a bunch of courses after they had taken place.
Okay,
But
then
Are they
it
also
can't be.
asking though for approval of an on-demand version? Because that was in their general
Mm-hmm.
presentation about, you know, the asking questions and things like that.
So well, that was the second part of this. So we're not going to approve it as the webinar because the request came in too late, but they also asked to have these as on-demand online courses. And they say there's going to be assessment questions, but they don't give a number of questions. And they give some examples, which I think are a bit silly. I mean,
Yeah.
they refer to PACE Analytical. So if we want to approve it as an online on-demand course, we need to tell them a minimum number of questions and that they need to be technical and applicable to the content.
And that they have to have a passing grade set, right? I mean, we have to, right? Don't we say that? I don't remember, but I think we do.
I mean, the other thing, we could also just pass this back to them and say, revise your request and include this information if our list is getting too long.
Yeah, be specific and make the question. I do think it was relevant because what happened is when they did that question example, all they did is make it sound like it's a marketing thing, not a technical presentation.
Right.
So
Okay,
I think
so
that's the thing to tell them.
Okay, so you want them to follow the regular online with the technical questions, passing score. They need to, so the course is tabled. That's what, you know, you're looking to do. I just have a question about how you can approve the online course and not approve the live course. I know
Because
it's
we've done that
after the
before.
fact. We've approved courses after the fact many times.
No, we don't, Beverly. If the request has to come in before the board meeting that's relevant to the timing of the course. We've never approved a course. We've denied them multiple times because they didn't get in before the deadline. That's why we set the deadline, if you remember.
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is that nobody recalls approving a course after the course has taken place?
No.
I feel like that happens a lot where you have people who take an individual class in the past and they ask for approval.
Yeah,
But
we have.
It's two different
Well, we
things.
need to go back and check because the last I checked, we did not. It's very explicit in the regs that it has to be pre-approved. Except
I think
in circumstances when they wrote to us in time, but we didn't get to it.
Right, that is correct.
Right. We've
If
approved.
they submit something for us to include in the agenda on time, and we were not able to get to it, then we would actually then move forward and approve that. But it is correct. If we've never seen it and already came and went, it's a different scenario.
Well, I'm going to check because I have to go into the records because I believe that the board has approved courses that have already taken place.
We've approved courses that have already taken place, but the request came in prior to the course being offered. And so what we're seeing here is that it appears that these requests came in after the actual courses were offered. So let's just table the whole thing, and if you want to check for consistency, you can do that. And if it's okay, well, we ask them to resubmit and touch upon the few questions that we have for it to be an on-demand online course.
Okay.
So is that the recommendation, David? Table?
That's what I propose. If other people feel differently, they should speak up.
I agree. I think we should ask them to resubmit with the proper information for the webinar-based presentations.
For them to be an online on-demand course.
Online.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I will check on after the fact course approval.
Right. And besides that, I didn't have any issues with the content and the instructors.
Right.
Okay, and which course are you talking about? Are you talking about
All
2
10.
or are you talking?
All 10.
All 10 are under 3 different requests, so they all apply to what we're asking them to do.
And we have routinely approved the, not routinely, they don't offer that, they don't ask that often, but the live courses by the same people generally, or the same topics, have been approved.
Okay, and so I'm looking at course 11. Course 11, Enviro, was received. The course was March 9th, and it was received in time, but not in time to get on the agenda for March 9th.
Okay.
You know, there's a 14-day window, so I don't know what you guys want to, whether or not that course is distinguishable.
That is.
Is that the only one?
Yes,
Yeah, I
all the
think
rest of them were yeah, that's the only
Okay.
one, number 11.
And let's look
All
at
the rest,
11.
you need to look at 11.
So I make a motion to approve Enviro Class 11, finding contaminants, blah, 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 as it was presented live webinar on March 9th. And it being an online on-demand course is tabled with the other 9 classes.
Yes.
Okay.
I
I
second,
second that.
So,
blah, blah, blah.
okay, so I'm sorry. So March 9th, you're voting to approve, but with the webinar.
2 hours
Yep. But
for the webinar.
as for online, it's tabled until we receive further information specific to online courses.
Correct, with the other 9 that they requested. So any
Yeah.
other comments from the board or discussion or public?
No.
I'm in agreement with the
So
approach.
to approve this webinar that was on March 9th by Enviro Class, yes, is approving it. Greg,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes,
Gail,
Yes.
Millie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So item 12 is principles of risk communication applied to PFAS site issues, Mass DEP, live webinar, and also online course, 2 regulatory credits and 2 technical questions. My only comment, well, I'm sure other people want to discuss things, but one thing is that only 5 questions for the assessment for online course. I don't think is enough for a 4-hour course.
No, I agree. It should be, 10 seems to be the standard.
Should we put that in the regs? Sounds
Well,
arbitrary.
that's a good idea. That's
It
a
sounds
good
very
idea.
arbitrary. If it's like
Yeah.
10 sounds good, 4 sounds too little, we got to put some policy behind that.
Yeah, let me just hold on one second, guys. Let me just make a note in the reg since we're working on continuing. Ed, what did you say? A minimum of 10 minimum of 10 questions? Is that what you're agreeing to?
I think we're saying more like maybe 2 questions per hour.
Okay. A minimum equals 2 questions
Well, to put this in
per
perspective,
hour of.
the 1-hour courses that we've approved over the last year for their online demand assessments, they've had 5 questions.
Jesus,
So 5
Right.
questions per hour, you know,
that's a lot.
from courses that I've done at work that are done by professional organizations, I would say it's probably 3 to 5 questions per hour coursework.
And I think
Okay,
that's
so-
reasonable.
Okay, so what I'll do so as not to cross-reference the reg meeting with the continuing ed, I'll throw some language with respect to online questions. And what you've said is 3 to 5 questions per hour of credit, and we'll debate that at the next regulations meeting. I've made a note. Okay, we can go on. Sorry. So what do you want to do about?
The presumption is that because we have nothing established by regulations, that this course only having 5 questions would be acceptable for the moment.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's consistent with standard practice, even at 5. I think 10 would be consistent with standard practice.
Okay.
My only question would be, this is not Mass DEP's first introduction of this, seeking credits, or approvals. So what has DEP done in the past? Is this unusual that only 5 questions were applied for?
Could be that this is the first time they told us what would be
No, I
how many it would
think
be.
the 5 is probably a typo from other requests,
Right.
possibly. I don't know.
Whatever it is, 5 is not enough, because if you're going to require a passing grade of 80, that means you get 1 question wrong and you don't get credit. That doesn't seem fair.
Okay. All right. So do you want to table this? And the good thing about this is that it's spring 2021 and no date has been set yet. So if this course is tabled, asking, I can get with Mass DEP, BWSC right away and let them know they need to add some more questions.
That's a good path forward.
Is there other
I'll just-
discussion about the course though, and the 2 hours and technical 2 hours DEP and all that?
Well,
Yes.
I think Greg had preliminarily raised a question. Greg, I don't want to speak for you, but this is the in whole or in substantial part question arising here. So I think there should be discussion about that.
Yeah, I when I made the comment, I thought it was all DEP credit. So they have, by having it 2 and 2, they've reduced the concern about that. But I think it's worth having a conversation. We did talk about this when we talked about the LNAPL course previously, and decided that that the level with 1 DEP person was acceptable. But we have 1 person from DEP on this in this discussion, and we've got a number of other people, and I'm not questioning the people because I know several of them and I think they'll do a fine job. But it's just, the question is how much does the person from DEP need to contribute for this to be substantial? And I again, my initial concern was that it was a 4-hour DEP course, and it just didn't seem to pass the straight face test. I'm less concerned about 2 and 2, but I think we should be clear with each other as to what's acceptable.
Wendy just commented the assessment of learning questions are for the on-demand format.
Right.
Yes.
Yep, not the webinar. So, I mean, Paul Locke speaks throughout. I don't know how long each time, but he's throughout all sections in the course outline.
Chris, are you able to put up the course request?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the second page, they actually give the timing for each section.
Right. But there's multiple speakers in each one of those sections, including DEP being in each one of them.
Okay.
It's the risk communication, Chris. Thank you.
Again, this is where the labeling helps out on the attachment.
I
So
just, you know,
with Paul-
we're, oh, go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, I just, with Paul contributing to most of the sections, not everyone, but most of them, I'm less concerned, and I withdraw my earlier comment. It's still
Yeah,
something we
this is unlike other ones where the DEP person did the intro and presented, and that was it. I mean, he's intertwined throughout this course.
I
Right.
see them now. Yes.
And they are only asking for 2 regulatory credits and 2 technical credits, as everybody can see.
I'm comfortable that this would meet the qualifications of regulatory in substantial part because it's clearly been worked together.
Okay, so it
Motion
meets
to
that,
approve.
it meets, yeah, and Kurt is saying he votes to approve. Okay, but you're tabling the online request
Well, no, why
because
don't we,
there aren't
why
sufficient
don't we
questions.
improve
Go
the
ahead.
online, why don't we improve the online version of it and say you have to have a minimum of 10 questions?
Right.
Okay, so you're approving the webinar and the online version.
Right, so I'll make a motion to approve the live webinar as proposed, and also the online on-demand course as proposed, with the requirement that they have at least 10 assessment questions.
Okay, second.
Second.
Any other discussions from the board or the public?
So you want 10 questions. Okay, got it. For
Minimum.
the online. Yeah, minimum. Okay, for the online. I got it.
Right, and
Thank
that
you.
doesn't mean we may have a different requirement when we finalize the regulations.
Okay.
So I'll go through the roll call. Yes is approving. Greg?
Yes.
Kathy? Deb?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Two more course approval requests. LSPA loss prevention review of mass NOAFs. Live webinar online course, 1 credit. And by the way, they have 5 questions for the 1-hour course for the online assessment. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or public? I'll go through the roll call. A yes is approving. Greg?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kirk? Kirk? Gail?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
And David is a yes. And then the last one is another LSPA offering indoor air updates, 1 technical credit, live webinar, and online course to be offered in May. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or public? I'll do the roll call. Yes is approving it. Greg?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kirk? Looks like Kirk fell off.
He's
Gail?
muted.
I'm sorry. Kirk, you're muted. Gail?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. There's 2 course reapproval requests. The first one is from the LSPA, the MCP for everyone. it was originally approved for 4.5 hours, and they want to reapprove it for 5 hours based upon an email and their explanations for doing that. And they did provide an updated syllabus outlining the 5 hours.
Seems reasonable.
I make a motion to approve the reapproval.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or public?
I just had a question about the online questions for the online portion of the course. Are there sufficient questions?
I don't know. We would have to go back to the original request. I don't think it's in this reapproval request.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just specify?
Well, I don't think we can go back and change the original approval. I mean,
But they are expanding, right, from 4 to 5 hours, is that?
4.5 to 5. Yeah, I don't think it's in this reapproval request, so we would have to go back to the original request and what it was approved for to know how many learning assessment questions there were going to be.
Okay, so what do you want me to do? Because I can go back and examine 15, because if the course is designated 1515A, it's already a derivation of 1515. We added the distinction, the A, the designation A, because it was changed. So
Yeah, Wendy just stated this is the first time the course has been given by live webinar. There will be no on-demand version of this course.
Okay, and so on the agenda that we have, it says online course, so that's just a typo.
that's that.
So that's
Yeah,
fine. So we don't have to
I
answer the
guess.
question about how many assessment questions there
right.
are, because it's not being approved as an online on-demand course.
Right.
Thank you for the clarification, Wendy.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's noted.
So we had a motion and it was seconded, and we'll approve it. Were we all set?
I think you can vote.
Okay,
Hearing
right.
no
Yes.
further comments.
Kathy? Deb?
yes,
I am,
Mark?
yes.
Yes.
Kirk? Gail?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. The last course reapproval request is LSPA Method 3 Risk Assessments, Introductions for LSPs. The scope of the course omitted and eliminated some content. It is 4 hours, and I do see that they only had 5 assessment questions for the online portion. Anybody see issues with reapproving this with the new scope of the course?
Has anyone taken this course? Who's an LSP on the board?
No.
Okay, it's just the title piqued my interest in Introduction for LSPs.
Yeah, that's what it got changed to.
she has given this course in the past. It's a new format.
Yeah, I agree, Deb, but I know she's given this course in the past, years ago, for LSPs, as an LSP training class.
Well, if you look at the number 1494, it was given based on the number 1494. That was maybe 2019 or so. I mean, so yes, the course has been offered before. the question is whether or not they're sufficient. They're asking for it to be a webinar and an online course, and it's whether or not the questions are sufficient for the online course.
Well, they're asking to have it reapproved with the new scope of the course, being slightly shorter because they eliminated some content. And they do propose 5 assessment of learning questions. So we can reapprove it with the amount of questions that we expect for the online on-demand course.
Okay, so it's the webinar. So I'm trying to get an understanding here. So the webinar is approved, and the online course, you're saying that 5 questions?
No,
Sufficient or?
both the webinar and online on-demand course need to be approved, both formats.
No, I get that. I'm
Okay.
asking, you said that there were only 5 questions, and I'm asking whether or not 5 questions is sufficient for an 4-hour online course.
No, it's not, based upon the approval that we just did of the Mass DEP course, where we set a minimum of 10.
Okay, so what's the minimum of 10? Online must be approved with the minimum of how many questions? They have to resubmit?
Wendy just stated this Method 3 course has been offered about every 2 years since it was first approved. The LSPA understands now that we need 10 assessment questions for an on-demand course that is 4 or more hours.
For now, yes.
Yeah, I think she was stating she realizes that. And
Okay, so I make a motion to approve this reapproval with a minimum of 10 assessment of learning questions for the online on-demand course portion of it.
Second.
I don't think we need to further discuss unless someone wants to.
I'm sorry, what was the approval for the online? You want
Minimum of
web
10, assessment of learning questions, please.
All right. Yep.
Consistent with the previous approval today.
Yep.
So a yes is approving. Greg?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kirk? Gail?
Yes.
Mark
Millie?
has, yes, and Mark, Kirk has a comment there, David. You might want to, appears that he's muted.
Under chat? What about Kirk, Millie?
He's showing a piece of paper that says, I am muted by the organizer.
nope, he self-muted. I didn't mute him.
Okay.
Should we send food and water?
So my vote is yes, David.
Oh, okay. Well, that's too bad. He's off mute, Kirk.
I am off mute.
You're back.
Somebody else had muted me, one of the organizers, so it wasn't me.
Okay. And I'm a yes. So the last thing is 2 course announcements from the LSPA. And we were provided attendance forms. I'm not sure if that was something we were supposed to do with those or not.
You're not, you don't have to do anything with them.
Okay. So that's it for the continuing ed meeting, and the next meeting will be May 11th. And we're ending at 1:11.
Thank you, David.
Okay. So Jamie's not with us. Kurt, do you want to
Sure.
conduct the professional conduct meeting, please?
Yep, call to order, 1:14. Status of virtual draft minutes.
The virtual draft minutes will be discussed at the board meeting under the public records request because they all tie in together. I have a report on all of them.
There's no old business. We can get right into the status of the CRTs.
Yep. 05C is pending in Superior Court. I don't have a further report on that. 08C and 12C, I won't have a report on those courses until May 2021. I do have reports on the remaining courses. Prosecutions. I have made some progress. 18C01, we met on November 20th, 2020. We have a CRT report, and hopefully by the next meeting, we will have made some progress on cleaning up that CRT report so that we can schedule the interview. In 18C02, that CRT met on February 23rd, 2021. All three of the members drafted interview questions. We have set a date, and we need to consolidate our questions and come up with a composite. We've already worked out a format for how the interview will be conducted. It's scheduled for May 13th, the LSP interview, but we haven't. I haven't gotten confirmation of that date yet. In 20C01 and 20C02, I have interviewed both of the LSPs in those cases. Both of the LSPs, you remember that this is a case that I'm investigating on my own. There's no screening team or CRT. There are a number of witnesses, but I have interviewed, again, both of the LSPs in the past month. They both offer the same defense. I think I can describe what we're looking into as something, some changes that were made to the LSP board website. Again, the two principals have offered a defense that the website is a public website. So I'm still delving into it. I'm still setting up interviews with other people. So I'll have a further report on progress on that in May. In 20C04, that case should be redacted and be able to be presented to the board at the May 11th meeting. Been sitting for a long time, but I hope to have it redacted so that the board can at least look at the redacted copy of the complaint and the response, the LSP's response. I think that was all I had.
Well, thank you. Is there any new business?
No.
Okay. Future meeting, May 11th. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Meeting ended 1:17.
1:17, thank you.
Great, good afternoon. We will call to order the LSP board meeting this afternoon at 1:17 p.m. And just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded. I do not have any announcements, but I welcome Beverly and the members of the board and the public. I invite each and every one of you if you have any announcements at this time. Hearing none, we will move forward to the agenda, additions, deletions, and other changes to the draft agenda. I only offered that on item 4. I know that we're going to be talking a little bit about the draft minutes later in the agenda, but it seems to me that the March 11th date maybe was, I think it's actually March 9th, but I just want to
It is
clarify.
March 9th. It is March 9th. Thank you. It is March 9th. Thank you.
So that was my only comment. I'd like to move to adopt the agenda without any change. Looking for a second.
Second.
Agenda adopted. And so, Beverly, if you could please provide us, the board and all of us with the status of the virtual meeting draft minutes and the timeline for approval of these meeting minutes at a future board, that would be great.
I'm gonna do that during the public records portion of the agenda. So I will cover all of that when we reach 14D.
Okay, so noted. We are then going to move on to voting on the renewal dockets, and today we have 2 renewal dockets. Docket 1 consists of 2 LSPs that have completed all of the renewal requirements, and now their licenses have a new renewal date of April 30, 2024. So I move to approve renewal docket 1 as recorded. Looking for a second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye or yes when I call your name. As for the roll call, Greg,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Millie is a yes, and David.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries to approve this docket. Docket number 2 consists of 1 LSP that has completed all of the renewal requirements within the 1-year period from the original renewal date. And now the license now has a new renewal date of April 30, 2024. I'd like to move forward with a motion to approve renewal docket as recorded. Looking for a second.
Second.
Please say yes when I call your name. Greg,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Deb, Mark,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Millie is a yes, David.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries to approve docket number 2 as recorded. Next, we're going to talk about assigning the application review panel, number 315 and number 316. I'd like for Beverly to please take the lead in this discussion.
Okay, so the first thing I want to remind everyone to respond to the recusal forms that I send out. I don't have recusal forms for everybody, and it's a problem when we go forward to assign these application review panels. So please send me your response to the recusal forms that I send out. I don't know how you want to handle it. We've had 3 new applications, and so I just created 3 separate review panels. There are some folks who have not sat on a lot of application review panels, and it might be a good opportunity, especially now that Mr. Sadiq is no longer with us, and he did volunteer to sit on a lot of these ARP panels. So we've got to fill that void.
Let's do 2 and 1, and I'm willing to sit on one of them.
Okay, so thank you, David. ARP 315 will be Mr. Speet, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, forgive me. And Ms. Wolf. And that panel is Mr. Austin, and we need 2 other members.
I'll sit on
Brad
it.
will do
I heard you volunteer. Thank you. And who else?
it. It was Greg.
Greg. Thank you, Greg. Okay. And ARP 317 is Ms. Emmert. And we need.
Debbie will take that, Debbie.
Mark
Thank you,
Richards,
Deb.
Mark Richards also.
Kathy Campbell will also.
Thank you. And I got Mark Richards. Thank you very much. Okay. I'm all set. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So actually, Beverly, if you could kindly provide the board with a report regarding all the item relative to the all other licensing related matters. And actually,
Okay.
your report should probably extend through item 11, exam review.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
So there are a total number of 463 LSPs. That number is up from last month. I think it was 463 LSPs. Thank you. LSPs are on inactive status. Again, those numbers fluctuate based on people retiring and coming in and out and paying their fees. If you look at the docket, one person just came back in after almost a year of being out. So that's the reason for that. Next month, I'll give the annual fee report and the January and April quarterly fee report. The April quarterly fee is not due until April 30th. And there are approximately 27 folks, it's either 27 or 33, I'm sorry, I can't further define that, people who have renewals due in April. And again, all of those who did not pay their fees for January or their annual fees have received certified mail notices, and a few annual fees are still trickling in. So I'll have more complete numbers on items 7, 8, and 9 for the May meeting. The exam schedule has gotten pushed back. I know I keep pushing it back, but there's so many other things that are taking precedence over that. So I'm hoping that we can at least schedule a meeting sometime in May, but I know that it won't be before the board meeting, and you'll find out why I have to push it back as I go along, and give the further reports during other business. We had one person who failed the December 9th, 2020 exam. That person came in and reviewed their exam, decided, and David, you'll be happy to hear this, decided not to contest or ask for re-examination of any of the questions. So we're all set. And as for the new date, what I'm saying to people who ask, the exam will take the 2021 LSP examination will take place sometime in June or July. I haven't set a specific date yet.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board members? Public? Okay. All right, we will continue with a report back from David with regards to continuing education. And if we have any recommendations that warrant action through a motion, let's also identify that. David?
Yeah, the continuing ed committee met today. We approved 5 courses. One of them was just in the webinar format. There were 2 reapprovals and 10 courses for online on-demand requests were tabled. There were 2 course announcements, and the next meeting is May 11th.
Okay, thank you. So any actions on these recommendations that are needed from our end?
No.
Yeah, you have to vote to accept the recommendations made
Right.
by the committee.
I was waiting for someone to make that motion.
Right, so
Yep.
Motion to accept the,
motion to recommend to move forward and vote on the recommendations from the Continuing Education Committee.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes when I call your name. Greg?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kirk?
yes,
Gail?
Yes.
Millie is a yes, and David?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Any other business that you want to cover?
No.
Okay, move forward with the Professional Conduct Committee report. Kirk?
old business, all was the status of the CRTs. 05307 in Superior Court. 08303 and 12301, May 2021, those will be addressed. 18301,
I can do that, Kurt. I'm
okay,
sorry. I can do that. Let me, because I have the notes. I'm sorry. Okay, so 18 C01, forgive me. 18 C01, we need to schedule our next meeting. We met on November 20th, 2020, and we need to work on our draft of the CRT report. 18 CO2, the CRT met on February 23rd. We've all drafted interview questions. We have to formulate a composite, and we have tentatively scheduled the LSP interview for May 13th, 2021, but we haven't confirmed that. I have conducted interviews of the LSPs in 20 CO1 and 20 CO2. And I'm still have to speak with other witnesses involved in 20 CO4. I hope to have that case redacted, the complaint and response redacted for the board's review at the May 11th, 2021 board meeting.
Thank you. So I am in full agreement with the path forward here, and just to make sure that it's codified, I'd like to make a motion to adopt all of the recommendations for resolving some of these matters as presented by the Professional Conduct Committee.
Second.
second,
So please say yes when I call your name. Greg,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Kirk,
yes,
Gail. Gail? Oh, she's muted.
Oh, there I am. Yes.
Thank you, Gail. Millie is a yes, and David?
Yes.
So moved. We adopt the recommendations. Thank you. Okay, Beverly, so we are going to be moving forward now with other business. If you could kindly provide us with a summary in further discussion on items 14A through D.
So the Regulations Committee met today. We made it to page 2, and that was significant because we are still in the definitions phase, and so it's very helpful that we're officially nailing down things, and I think that we have made some important decisions within the definitions that are going to help us. I think, some of the things that we were struggling with were adding, pardon me, the new technology, online webinar definitions, striking AFL, alternative learning format, and those sorts of things. So we did make some progress today. With respect to personnel budget and fees, I have hired an investigator. The investigator is in the final stages of the process and hopefully will be on board and present at the May 11th, 2021 meeting.
That's excellent, Beverly. Thank you.
Great news.
Yep, I'm thrilled. I can't disclose any further information about the person simply because we're not done with the process. So I don't want to do that in the public portion of the meeting. But it's pretty much a done deal. So I'm very happy. With respect to board member replacements, on April 1st, the commissioner of DEP informed me that the environmental slot that has been empty on the board is being filled. The person is being processed with at this stage, a background check. And so I don't have any further information on who the person is or anything else. But as soon as I get that information, it will be passed along. With respect to the vacancy on the board created by Mr. Sadiq's resignation, EEA has indicated that we can move forward with whatever process that has been used in the past. And so just to, in sum, we put out feelers for, this is an LSP slot, so it's not a particularized position that Mr. Sadiq vacated. So we'll just conduct some interviews, solicit information from anyone who wants to have an LSP apply for this slot. Can just send their information to me. Millie and I will conduct some interviews, and I'll prepare a memo that will go to recommending, if warranted, the candidate who is applying for the board seat, and then it'll go to the governor's office. So just to be clear, with respect to the LSP vacancy on the board, we're going back to the protocol that we had always employed in terms of vacancies. So that leaves me with the public records request. We have, I don't know, I should stop here. Did anybody have any questions about any of the items A through C that I just covered?
I do. What happened to the request to the commissioner 2 months ago about temporary staff, someone possibly coming from DEP to assist? Is that now a moot point?
Well, what the commissioner said to me was, well, it's definitely a moot point now, but I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that it is a moot point because I think that was meant to be an interim path until Beverly had the opportunity to move forward with the selection, and seeing that she successfully identified the best candidate, and we're moving forward with that process, I would say that we should just close out that request so that the commissioner's not further deliberating and potentially issuing a trip invitation throughout DEP.
Oh, he's not going to do that.
So
I've met with him. He's not going to do that.
Understood. I'm basically just closing it out too. So there's wisdom in doing that.
And is there any update on hiring legal or attorney staff?
Nope, I don't have. If I had an update, David, please, I assure you, I would have given it. I don't have an update. Other than we don't have anyone, and the position is going to have to be reposted. So. Other questions about items A through C?
None from my end. So maybe we can just move forward with the public records request portion.
Of course. So this is, as you know, we have two outstanding public records requests. They are, the requesters are asking for the exact same thing, all the minutes from 2020 and 2021. And so, couple of things. You saw my email to the requesters yesterday or the day before, I think. I requested in this time of COVID an interpretation of the law from the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State's office on how to handle this business of recordings and transcripts. And according to the Division of Open Government, recordings and transcripts do not constitute draft meeting minutes. So this is what we have. The April 2020 meeting minutes, as you recall, the board's meeting was Zoom bombed. So what the Attorney General's office indicated that I can do is take that transcription and clean it up basically and say, use some symbols or something for the language. So that meeting adjourned within minutes. So there won't be much for that. But I don't know whether or not that April meeting is still under investigation or not. So I have to talk to the state trooper who was involved in the matter to find out whether or not the investigation is closed. If the investigation is closed, that's going to be pretty much the simplest transcript because it'll be the shortest. I don't have the transcript, but that was because of the investigation. With respect to the May 2020 meeting minutes, all we have is a recording. They have not been transcribed. With respect to the June 2020 meeting minutes, we have a recording. We do not yet have a transcription. With respect to the July 2020 meeting minutes, on April 12th, I received the July transcription. I have the transcription for the meetings from August, September, and October, November, and January 2021. Those are transcriptions. February and March 2021, I have the recordings, but not the transcriptions. So there are no draft minutes, but we are required to produce them. When I have looked at the transcripts and seen what the Attorney General's office recommended, mandate, is that the minutes be put in the form that they're in as they were originally posted on the web. So the participants, the meetings have to be separated. What I have is one long set of notes, not notes, but conversations between people. And I have to separate all of those out and put them in form for minutes, in the regular form for meeting minutes. So I'm working on that. Any questions about the public records and the virtual meeting minutes?
I don't have any, Beverly, just, I appreciate you working with the Attorney General's office to seek the clarity, and as soon as they're available, we will just incorporate them into the appropriate meeting agenda.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Are you finished? I just wanted to, the thing about it is the requesters, the public records requesters are in fact entitled to draft meeting minutes. So as I get them together, I have to produce them. They don't go to the board first. I just want to be clear because I think a lot of folks know this already. Draft meeting minutes under the open meeting law are minutes. So the board members are not going to get to do their usual corrections and then it's posted to the website before the requesters get them. The requesters get the draft, whether or not they've been approved by the board is what I'm trying to say.
No,
you will get as board members, you absolutely will have an opportunity to review the minutes when I put them in the proper form and make changes and add comments as usual. But you don't get to do that before the minutes are distributed to the requesters. They get the drafts.
Yep, that is correct and understood. Okay. Any questions from other board members? Okay.
I had a quick comment back to the open LSPA, open board slot. Wendy said the LSPA is happy to share through an email blast any language the board wants to develop regarding the open LSP seat.
Oh, well, thank you, Wendy. I'll get back to you on that because I do have some text, some prepared text. So, yep. We, of course, will include all of our collaborators, or to the extent that we can. The word, and in fact, you board members can put the word out yourself starting today that we're looking for an LSP not specialized pursuant to the statute who wants to be a member of the board.
So let me ask you, during the course of today through the next meeting, I guess, at what point does everybody understand the universe of interested parties, or is that something that I work with you on, Beverly, and then we just bring the selection to the board as an announcement?
No, the board doesn't decide. The governor makes this appointment. And so I would get a list of names. Anybody who wants to send me a candidate, they should forward their resume to me. But let me get a notice posted on the website, send that text to the LSPA. I will also send an email to all of our continuing ed providers and take suggestions from board members about where to how about recruiting, but they don't take, the board members don't participate in the recruitment other than, you know, telling people to contact me. And then you and I, Millie, will set up times and dates for interviews of these people. We also run a background check in the sense that not the governor's office background check is something different. They conduct that. But, you know, we run a background check as to DEP. We don't, of course, want someone who is not suited to sit on the board. So those things are done, you know, in-house too.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for further describing the process. Well, I think that pretty much concludes the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Yep, we're gonna have a motion to adjourn. Second,
Second.
so all in favor, please say yes when I call your name, and then we will conclude the meeting. So Greg,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Gail, Millie is a yes, and David,
Yes.
motion carries. We are concluding our meeting today at 1:48 p.m. and we look forward to seeing everyone on May 11th.
A great month.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Very nice report. All right, does anybody have any